What's up, guys? Armchair QBs here, going over your Week 5 matchup previews. First one we're looking at here is Mantequilla versus your Mahomes kid. So that's me versus Michelle. Just going over my roster here. I have that QB wide receiver stack that's been working for me this season so far with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen has looked really good, and Stephon Diggs with that QB wide receiver stack has been the benefactor. So anytime those two are together and you have that pairing, you have that correlation of points. So it hurts when one of them doesn't go off, or if both of them doesn't, but typically if Diggs is having a good game, then it correlates that Allen's going to have a good game as well. So just a little tip there if you guys are looking for a little bit more upside to do a stack with the wide receiver and his QB. Starting in my wide receiver, I am forced to start Christian Watson here just because of buys. Scrolling all the way down here, I have Higgins with an injury right now, Javonte Williams, possible injury, I think he plays, and then you have Cooper Kupp, you have Amari Cooper, Jerome Ford, both on buys. So pretty sparse there on my bench with the two buys mainly from the Browns players. But going back up, looking at my starting roster here, I have Kyron Williams, which I'm pretty stoked about his usage. He had a little bit of a slight dip in usage last week, but he's still getting the usage there. Ronnie Rivers is eating in a little bit, and he'll probably continue to eat a little bit into the usage of Williams there, with just Williams being a small back, and just for his injury precaution, Sean McVay will probably be smart and not give him 30 carries per game. It'll be a lot still, a majority of the snaps, just because of his pass pro and his receiving ability. But so I'm excited there with Williams. Isaiah Pacheco had a really good game last week. Everyone was able to see that, I believe, on Sunday night. Big game there. So it's still hit or miss with Pacheco and the Chiefs. Basically after Kelsey, everyone else is a coin flip. So hopefully Pacheco could work out there and continue. And then looking over at Michelle's team here, she has Mahomes and Jefferson, and that's an interesting opposite stack. That's something that you might want to play if you were playing DFS, Daily Fantasy Sports, where you pair up the quarterback and the wide receiver, and then you bring it back with another wide receiver from that game. The correlation being, if it's going to be a high-scoring game, you want pieces from both offense, because the high scoring will go back and forth, and it means more points for both players. So any of you guys looking at some of your rosters, consider that. See if you have a high-scoring game. Something like this where it's Mahomes and Jefferson, and you have that bring back, and maybe you have for Mahomes, if you have Rashee Rice or Sky Moore, if you're a little bit more desperate on your flex there. So just look at your team, see if there's any stacks that you could do. Just start thinking in terms like that. Stacks is something that's big in DFS, and it correlates to redraft and single to home leagues, which we do. Brandon Ayuk, he's going up against Dallas. Dallas isn't. They've had some injuries on their defense, so we'll see how that pans out. I'm looking for a decent game from Brandon Ayuk, but again, with San Francisco and Kyle Shanahan, it's a coin flip. Last week we saw that it was Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey, and Deebo Samuel, was the odd man out there, and same thing with George Kittle. So this game it might be Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. It's always a coin flip here with these great offenses, because they have such smart coaching and their offensive potency with the different receivers and running backs that they have. So just be cognizant of that if you're, something like my Raheem Mostert with a Devon A-Chain, and them two going back and forth. Same thing with Waddle and Tyreek Hill on the Dolphins. So looking here with Michelle's Brandon Ayuk, we'll see if he has a good game. I think he does. I think he continues his streak of good games here. You have Najee Harris going up against Baltimore. I'm not high on anyone on this Pittsburgh team right now. You have Matt Canada. There's still rumblings on whether he's going to be out, and if Mike Tomlin does anything there. So we'll see with that. DeAndre Swift is looking really good right now. That Philly O-line is really blocking for him, and there's a lot of wide open gaps basically for the run game. So it feels like anyone could do that at that point, but we're finally seeing what a lot of the fantasy players were hoping DeAndre Swift would become. Finally, you're having a coach that's actually using him for that versus when he was in Detroit and it was kind of a committee. And so right now, at least for the moment being, DeAndre Swift is getting that usage. Evan Ingram here is looking pretty consistent. Anytime you get points from your tight end, it's always positive, especially this year. Just a wasteland, even with Kelsey. We haven't seen a big game from Kelsey yet. So Evan Ingram is pretty safe here. Mike Thomas going up against New England. Not really a fan of Mike Thomas. They're just short dink and dunks. Nothing too crazy. He hasn't even seen the same volume. Drake London here against Houston. Houston's been throwing it a lot, and they've been looking really good with CJ Stroud and their wide receivers Tank Dell and Nico Collins. So at some point, Atlanta's going to be forced to throw. We'll see if they do. In that spot, it'd probably be Drake London, maybe Jonnu Smith for a tight end. Kyle Pitts, there's a lot of rumblings that he's probably not healthy and full strength. On top of that, Atlanta likes to run the ball already, so we'll see. But yeah, so that's it right now. I'm liking Michelle's team, even though she's 0-4. I am pretty nervous that, especially with that Mahomes and Jefferson stack, that game has very big potential to be a shootout and to be high scoring. And then the Brandon Ayuk in Dallas, that also has potential. And then here again, DeAndre Swift versus the LA Rams, and we know that LA's been scoring a lot, so that versus Philly, so on Michelle's team, there's several teams here that looks like potential shootouts, or at least potential for high scoring back and forth games, compared to my team here and some of these matchups that are less high scoring and less back and forth. So I think right now I do give a slight edge to Michelle, and we'll see how it goes. Good luck.